What you got the draft and then free agency. Do you think there's going to be some movement in that first round?
Yeah, I do.
Sounds like it, right?
Yeah, I think the potential for the draft to be borderline wild trade wise is 100% there. And we got a taste of that last year in the Sphere. And now you have to embrace the theater of the event, and that's what it was. And I think teams did. I think teams went in there and went, all right, well, if we're going to do something, let's stop talking about it and let's get it done because the world is watching. You won't have that to the same degree because it's decentralized in Los Angeles, but that's not going to stop the business side of things from a hockey ops perspective. So there's a lot of money that needs to get moved. We know the salary cap is going up, but if you're talking about, and we're talking about Toronto, we're talking about Vegas, the Dallas Stars aren't leaving their roster untouched. They fired a coach.
And they're tight too.
Yeah. Like there's so many. Well, and look at Edmonton and Florida when the Stanley Cup final ends. If Edmonton loses, is Stan going to be willing to stand pat with everything that he has and do some tweaks with extensions and all? No, he's not going to do that. And so you have some flexibility with money, and that flexibility can be kicked into gear at the draft. So yeah, it's going to be busy.
You have a gut feeling on Marner?
What's that?
You have a gut feeling on Marner?
Where he ends up?
Yeah. I've heard everything from Tampa to Vegas and teams in between.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of that makes sense, right? There's an outlier in this, and people keep hinting at it. And that's Utah. That would surprise me, but it wouldn't blow my socks off that happens. It depends on the sales pitch. It depends on the opportunity. It depends on the money. A lot of things. You know this better than all of us, Darren. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to find a way to be better. They're going to find a way. And, the one thing that I've always admired, and it starts with Bill Foley, is the motto of just do what it takes to win. And by win a Stanley Cup. So there would be disappointment this year. Yeah, they lost to a good team. Get that. How do we make it better? And it's never personal. It's always related. The decisions are never personal, despite what we've experienced in the past. It's always about winning. So I think Marner would love to end up in Vegas. Absolutely love it. Whether or not Vegas can make it work, we'll find out, but I wouldn't bet against them.
Was waiting, thinking John
you're
was
not going to respond to that? You're not going to respond to that?
Yeah. Yes.
I think Vegas will be looking at Marner. They look at everybody, and we've heard the reports about being in on Marner earlier in this season, whether it's trade deadline or before that. So yeah,
two teams jump out at me though. I wonder what Kyle will do. We talked about Kyle Dubas. Will Pittsburgh, are they going to be in a position to be able to move money around to find a way to make it work? And the other one is, and you're going to laugh at me, is Columbus. Mm-hmm. Don Waddell, after what they went through last year and how they made a good story out of a horrific incident, they think they're on the verge of doing something special in Columbus.
Yeah.
And they have lots of money. And you have to wonder if Don Waddell's prepared to do something with that situation.
No. Well, I mean, look, we can try and pinpoint the team. Really, really, really hard to do when you're talking about the players of interest and you're looking at a Bennett if he's available, Mitch Marner, the coveted list of unrestricted free agents, because the market is vast. It's not 5 teams, it's 30. And then some of those aren't going to be contenders or players just based on the want of the player, but that doesn't mean that they're not keenly interested and going to make their pitch. And as soon as you said Columbus, I kind of raised my eyebrows because it makes sense. It makes sense.
We haven't talked Nick Ehlers as a free agent.
Yeah.
I still see him back in Winnipeg, but he's going to obviously test the waters, right?
Yeah, I do too, John. Nick is an interesting cat. He really is. And it's not like when you leave the arena in Winnipeg, you're flooded with autograph seekers and all of that. I mean, it's a Canadian market, so of course you're recognizable. My sense is that he wants to go to a place where he just leaves the rink and goes home. And he's a personable guy. He really, truly is. So what does that look like? I look at the Carolina Hurricanes, and I can envision having Nick Ehlers in that lineup. The way that he can skate, how shrewd he is defensively, all of those things. And Carolina wants to spend. Right? They want to spend some money. So Winnipeg's going to try hard, though, because he's just such an important part of the dressing room, number one, and then the community, and he's a good player. So they're going to do everything they can, but that might not be good enough.